special. The brilliance of Allen's book is that, even as he shows how the larger musical world shifts, he never forgets to talk about how it affected him. He's a historian, of course, and a chronicler of the time, but he's also a talented memoirist who isn't afraid to show what he learned and admit that he's sometimes unlearned those same things. As a result, this memoir offers an indispensable look inside some of the most important music of our time. So please welcome Mr. Prose, Mr. Dynamite, the hardest-working memoirist in show business, Allen Leeds. Introduction. Starting a new job is supposed to be exciting. There might be a bit of anxiety, but overall, it ought to be an upbeat experience. But filling a new position at James Brown Productions in Cincinnati wasn't that simple. It came loaded with apprehension. For me, it was about more than just the immediacy of the gig. James Brown and his company could have easily been a metaphor for an entire culture and society I had become infatuated with through music. It was a world that most young white guys knew nothing about in 1969. But I had been dancing around its edges since my early teens, and now I was about to dive into the deep end. James Brown had pretty much invented me a position as a publicist, an attractive enough idea for me to quit college and set out for Ohio. Set amidst a mom-and-pop industry, everything about James Brown's operation seemed impressive. He had the elite tour on the soul music circuit, and I assumed that his business was run with the efficient military precision that guided his show. Wrong. I would discover that his touring shows sometimes struggled to make payroll, that his nattily-dressed promo men weren't always on top of their game, and that every horn player in the band wasn't a star-quality musician. But those were the exceptions. The biggest surprise was how his impulsiveness and ego frequently trumped his vast knowledge of the black music business into decisions that weren't always in his best interest. What JB didn't know was that I had dreamed of working for him since we'd first met in 1965. I wanted to be part of that special something that James stood for beyond just the music. He was already renowned for cleverly and effectively thwarting the institutionalized racism in the touring, recording, and media industries. He never cowered from any obstacle, and he never forgot the Jim Crow poverty that he had come from. His way of giving back could be as direct as slipping a $100 bill to a hard-working kid in a gas station, a derelict on a street corner, or an old friend down on his luck. In the wake of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination, Brown became a go-to TV guest when talk shows needed a black view. His social convictions were sometimes surprisingly conservative, but he spoke the language of America's black ghettos, where his cred amongst youngsters was without peer, at least until he endorsed Richard Nixon for president. But that came later. After 5 years of following the James Brown tour bus, first as an R&B radio disc jockey in Richmond, Virginia, and then as a fan and a friend, I was on a first-name basis with most of the JB touring entourage. I was a veteran of Brown's legendary after-show gab-fests, at which he would brazenly share his opinions and ideologies about music, race, and politics, and even sometimes hire or fire someone, such as the new publicist. It occurred to me that people I knew in the Brown camp worked on the road, not in Cincinnati, where production manager Bud Hobgood, record promoter Speedy Brown, no relation, tour director Bob Patton, and several secretary types were based. Other than Patton, none of them had a clue who I was or why I was coming. I naively hoped that being anointed by the boss himself would enhance my welcome in the little office that was headquarters for both his recording and touring enterprises. What I did know was that job security was a rare commodity within James Brown Productions. Band members and roadies seemed to come and go at a pace beyond the normal road attrition. One time, I caught the show and one of the famous Flames was missing. I asked about him and was told something like, "Oh, he's off getting his teeth fixed." Another time, veteran MC Danny Ray came up missing, supposedly away somewhere in radio school. The next time I saw the show, both were back in the saddle without explanation. While Brown went to lengths to conceal certain realities from fans or friends who might visit backstage, his tyranny was legendary.